Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus went on with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi, and on the way he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And the disciples answered him, "John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, and still others one of the prophets." Jesus asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered him, "You are the Messiah." And Jesus sternly ordered them not to tell anyone about him. Then Jesus began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. Jesus said all this quite openly. And Peter took Jesus aside and rebuked him. But turning and looking at his disciples, Jesus rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." Jesus called the crowd with all his disciples and said to them, "If any of you want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in glory of his Father with the holy angels." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. And he is all right to come, please. God's peace and mercy be with you on this day. God's love and grace surround you on this day. Greetings from God our Father. If you want to become my followers, let them deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. Deny themselves. That doesn't sound like much fun. So like when we think of denying ourselves, it's something more to the idea of, okay, I'm on a diet. Nobody's ever done that, I know. But if you should have ever been on a diet, you know, oh my gosh, I can't have anything I want, and somebody sticks a celery stick or a cracker, or a carrot in your face and said, "Here, eat this instead." But I'm here to tell you, if your mouth is watering for a piece of chocolate, that carrot, not so much. No, not so much. And now we hear Jesus saying to the crowds, "Deny yourselves." What on earth does that mean? "And take up your cross." Are you crazy, Jesus? Do you know what it means to have a cross in your life? It means crucifixion. It means you're going to die. And you want us to pick that up? I don't think so. But today, we don't have that framework and that reference to what a cross means. That's all they had back then. A cross meant crucifixion, which meant death. And Jesus is asking them to take up the cross. But we, who we are 2,000 years later, are really lucky that we know a lot more than those brothers and sisters 2,000 years ago. What we know today is that in the death of the cross, there came life. And in that life, we received abundant life. And we know that as they watched Jesus die that day, that wasn't the end. For many who watched Jesus die that day, saw him perish, and walked away, that was the end of the story for them. It's like when you see an accident and you look at it and you see ambulances, and that's the end of your story. You move on and you go to Walmart or home or wherever, and the accident is over for you now. But for the people who stayed around, the first responders, our EMTs, our police, our firemen, they know that that story continued. The disciples know that that story will continue, but at this point in our story, they don't know that. And so Jesus is telling them, I am going to die, but I'm also going to come back. It blows their mind. Jesus wants them to pick up a cross that represents crucifixion, and he's going to die, and then he's telling us he's going to come back. A little bit too much. So, here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to pick up our cross, and we're going to know that it's a good thing to pick up our cross, and we're going to know that it's a good thing that we deny ourselves. Because when we deny ourselves, all that means is that we have made the decision that we're going to turn our life around. That's all it means. That's it. For many of us, the cross can seem overbearing. For your pastor, the last 6 or more weeks have been hell because I haven't had my cross, which today I am showing you that I have. I have taken it off the altar. It is no longer up there representing my vocation, and it is back in its proper place around my neck. And I couldn't be happier. You see, the reason that this cross means so much to me is because of what it is. See, I don't wear jewelry. I'm not a big jewelry fan, let alone a necklace. A necklace has a chain, and it catches all those little hairs on the back of my neck, and it hurts, and it's annoying. And when I forget I have it on, and I'm taking off my shirt, the necklace flops in my face, it hits me in it, and so I don't do jewelry. But my cross, my little cross, she sits here, and she waits for me, and I wait for her. When I need her, she is there. The chain is cloth. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't strangle me. It embraces me. And so when I am nervous, and I don't want you to think that when I'm speaking with you and I happen to grab my cross that I'm nervous talking to you, but sometimes it just gives me just a little comfort of saying, okay, I may not know what to do in this situation, so let's just talk this over, shall we? Okay, this is good. This is good. And I have missed that for the last 6 weeks. My cross, when I go to bed at night, I know you don't need to know all this, but I'm sharing it anyhow. I take my little finger and I wrap it around and I go to sleep with it. Just like that. It gives me peace. And I have missed it. So welcome home. When I look down, there she is. And when I look down, it's a reminder of many things about looking down. I look down in prayer, and hopefully, when I look down, it's not because I'm looking down at somebody. And that's always that reminder right there. When you look down, the first thing you should see, not literally, not everybody wears a cross, but the first thing I see is that cross, and it's a reminder, judge not, unless I be judged first. So I am happy to say my cross is back, and it's a blessing. My little cross is not an albatross of having to deny something in my life. Sometimes we believe that when we are called to carry something, that it can be that albatross that hangs and is a burden and is heavy and it drags us down. But I think instead Christ intended for that cross that we carry to bring us joy and satisfaction. Not because we carry it for ourselves, but because we carry that cross for others. When we pick up our cross, it's saying to God and to the world, my life of only self-awareness, self-centeredness, that life that I lived only for me, that life I have made the announcement to die to. And in return, for giving up that life, we receive a new life, a life that we love others in, a life that we care for and others in. That's what we get to gain when it is in our minds that it's time for us to pick up our cross. There are 3 questions that a theologian named David Luce has offered for us to think about when we are in the midst or thinking about carrying and picking up for the first time our cross. And I'm going to ask you to also think about, what gives you your greatest joy? Where do you find your deepest sense of purpose? And finally, what makes you most alive? What makes you true to the person God created you to be? As I pondered these questions last night, I gotta tell you, they all centered right here. My greatest joy is to offer each and every one of you the sacrifice of our Heavenly Father, God's Son, in the form of the bread and of the wine. My deepest sense of purpose is to be here for all of you, day or night, good and bad. And what makes me true to the person that God created me to be is to stand here before you and help you walk through the scriptures so that what you hear has meaning and purpose in your life. And in that, it also gives me purpose. It fulfills me. And I hope when you answer these questions yourself, that you can find that the answers that you give will fill you also. When Jesus asks us to take up our cross, it's not a denying of ourselves, it's a bettering of ourselves. Our cross, not meant to be a burden, is a new opportunity to see and feel and touch the world in a whole differing way. We will stumble and we will drop our cross, but that's okay. We confess and we are forgiven. And so we are allowed to just pick that cross up right from wherever we dropped it. We don't have to go back to start all over again. God calls us to just continue to move forward, embracing and sharing God's love and spirit to all to whom you come in contact with, whether that be in person or on Facebook or in your tweetedness. I don't tweet, so I don't know what to say, how that is. But take up your cross, if you will, for if and when you do, you will find your life transformed forever. Thanks be to God, and amen.
Amen.